So nice to be transformed back to that time again. You don't get that many moments as a player to be taken back to the time in which you played when you're 20 years removed from it. So I think going into it, that's what I was anticipating, looking forward to the most. And it absolutely blew that out of the water because I just remember what the league was like at that time. And I thought the early episodes when they were showing Michael Jordan first getting into the league and challenges of trying to make that breakthrough against teams like Boston and the Detroit Pistons and what he went through physically and what he put his body through. And the fact that he was going out there 82 games a year doing that, playing that style, that aggressive attacking style in an era when you could lay guys out consistently. It was amazing to watch and be taken back to that. And I think it puts in a perfect summation why he's considered the greatest of all time. To have that level of success, not only statistically what he did, but to win and to break through against that level defense in an era that was designed to stop it. I think for me, the competitive will, is what made Michael Jordan the greatest. And I think his ability to survive those first 7-8 years of his career without a catastrophic injury, really amazing to me.
Jay, well, you were a kid growing up watching his career and an aspiring basketball player and ultimately the second pick in the draft, and you go to Chicago and they give you Michael Jordan's locker. So your history with him is an interesting one. How did watching these 10 episodes of The Last Dance change the way you view or think about him?
Well, it moved me. Obviously, I think you can view other people through the lens of empathy and also, what your experiences are. I think your experiences in your life can help you shape a perspective on what somebody else goes through. And look, the basketball stuff is obviously it's incredible, right? It's top of the line. It's something in rarefied air we've never seen before. But seeing Michael Jordan, the person, was the most interesting thing. Like I've been around Mike a lot. Like Tim Grover was my trainer when I was in Chicago, when I was trying to come back. I spent time talking to Tim about Mike and hearing stories about Mike and actually seeing how he dealt with the death of his father to a degree. And, even how it affected him on the court and how he worked through that, seeing how he dealt with Gus, a guy who was like a father figure, and hearing that relationship and the people that he had connective tissue related to and how what his family was like and his upbringing. Like that was the most intriguing part because everybody gets a chance to hear about Michael Jordan, the incredible competitor and the guy who's won multiple championships. But I think this allowed us to actually have depth into who Michael Jordan was as a person and how he dealt with all these things. And the court was his safe haven. It was his sanctuary. It was the most privileged place in his life because he got a chance to be Michael and take out whatever anger, happiness, whatever he was feeling in his life on those four corners of the floor, Tim. Like that was the most amazing, moving thing for me to witness through Michael, how he was able to be such an artist, painting his picture every time he stepped his foot across that line because he got lost in battle. He became one with the game.
It's been forever known as the flu game, but last night we find out for the first time that it was food poisoning, and it sounds like it was intentional, with 5 guys who delivered him a pizza the night before in Salt Lake City. Timmy Legler, I will admit, I've been around, I never heard that before. That blew my mind last night.
Completely agree. I think that was news to all of us. You remember that so vividly and how hyped that was and what a performance it was, feeling the way that he was and looking the way that he did. And we always thought it was the flu. It turns out that's going to actually be referred to as the bad pizza game. I mean, there's no other way to put that. And the fact that, to hear Tim Grover tell that story last night was sensational. He's saying, hey, Mike gets hungry. We're in Salt Lake City. There's not a lot of choices that time of night because it is a town that shuts down pretty early. So now they're scrambling to try to find him some food, and they find one pizza place that's open, and you get 5 guys knocking on the door to bring him that pizza. And I thought Michael was also interesting when he said no one else had a taste of it. I had to eat the whole thing myself. And then obviously we find out now that is what was bothering him to that extent. It absolutely puts a new light on that game, and it changes the perception that all of us had the entire time, was that he actually had a flu bug. It was a pretty funny story, but it's also very revealing, and I'm glad now we finally have the truth.
Yeah, there have been quite a few revelations that have come out of this, and for me, that's certainly among the most interesting. How about you, Jay Will?
Yeah, Greeny, I said to my wife last night, who eats well all the time, I'm like, see, Black Jesus eats pizza. This is okay. This is acceptable. But I think also playing through that game, because as a player, we always heard rumors back in the day, even training in Chicago, like, was Michael Jordan out the night before? Was he smoking cigars? What was his routine? And now actually to get clarity on that, I think is a game changer. But also, that moment for me as a little kid, that got me drinking Gatorade, Greeny. Like, remember seeing Michael Jordan looking gassed, looking out of breath, always looking tired, but him chugging on just constantly, and how it was able to propel him. Like, the launching of brands around that moment too that are associated with that moment because of MJ fighting through that. It's ultimately, I mean, it's been ingrained in my forehead since I've been a little kid. That's in my head since I've been a little kid. That's just what you remember. It's just incredible to actually have clarity in that moment finally years later.
All right, everyone this morning is picking their personal MJ moments, and Tim Legler, yours I know is especially personal.
Yeah, it is. And people ask me all the time, because I did have an opportunity to play against him. My entire career was the 90s, so I had a lot of opportunities to play against Michael Jordan. But, this moment, this is All-Star Weekend 6 in San Antonio. And, I had fought CBA, Europe, got cut a couple times, and I finally had made my mark in the league. And I was having a great year. Go down to San Antonio, and I win the competition. And the very first game after that performance was in Chicago. I met up with the team on the road, and this picture was taken in that game, and I'm standing at half court. And when people see that picture, they say, "Oh, what was MJ talking trash to you?" And I say, "No, actually, I remember this vividly. Someone was shooting a free throw. We're standing at half court, and he first was congratulating me on winning the three-point title, and then he also asked me about my daughter, who had been born that week. My first child was born that week and actually was induced so that I could perform in the three-point shootout, because it meant that much to me to go down there and try to prove I was the best shooter in the world." And he was actually making a comment about, "I bet you can't wait to get home to that baby girl." So that was the conversation that we were having standing at half court.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.